So when the web first started, there weren't graphics or images available. Partially just due to the infrastructure. So the infrastructure didn't have the capabilities or the speed to be able to transfer images efficiently, so you wouldn't design with images. That being said, that doesn't mean that there wasn't a method used by people to create imagery. So if you're not familiar already with the term ASCII art, you've probably seen some. So it's basically creating illustration through text, through characters and stuff that you can find on your keyboard. Like this example here of these tropical birds. A fair number of people might think that it's a pretty modern thing, but it really isn't. So this is some experimentation here from 1970. And this is an example from Julius Nelson from the late 30s. And this is from Verkman in 1926. If you're familiar with design, you probably are aware of the Bauhaus School, and he was an artist there. He continued his work actually even during Nazi Germany and was actually putting out things to try to subvert and show some resistance against the Nazis, and they eventually caught him, and they did execute him. But it goes even further than that. From the Daily Eagle newspaper in 1875, you can see examples of ASCII art here. So it's not some new thing, but it's also being played with in some interesting new ways as well, like in this video project where they've converted Google Street View into actual live ASCII art, which is pretty cool. So even without talking about imagery yet, even without graphics, you can start thinking about how you would create a more interesting and aesthetic experience for your users, even with just what we've done so far. You could do it the really long way where you like manually type in each character by character and try to figure out how to do it. And that would be the more artistic way. And really, I mean, if you want to talk about being an artist and a designer and some of that, maybe you should try your hand at it. But for most people, they would probably rather just get the result and not spend a bunch of time on that. So if you just go to a search engine and you look up ASCII generator, you can actually find quite a few. So here's one. Here's one. There's a bunch out there. And different ones have some different options and styles that you can create. So if I wanted to replace my Hello World heading here with some ASCII art, I could do that. So I can type Hello World and I can choose which style I want. So I just left it the way it was, which you can see here. Some of them are easier to read than others. So if we switch to Trek, that one is much harder to read. NVScript, so sort of this cursive style. And of course, other websites have other ones. So if I want to use this one, I can grab all that and I can see what happens. Now we're gonna get some issues here. First off, it's really big, so I might want to expand this. There you go, now you can see the whole thing out. It is slightly unaligned up at the top, but that's only because of this H1 tag. So if I delete that, you can see it's aligned now. Now if I leave it like this and I launch it, let's see what happens. There's going to be an issue, but I just want to show you before I show you how to fix it. So that's not exactly what we want, right? And even if I extend it out, it doesn't fix itself. So in HTML, all of this white space doesn't really do anything. White space in HTML is very useful, but the browser doesn't read it. The browser just pretty much ignores it. So all this white space is no different than just having one single space. So then how do we do ASCII art? We talked about a couple tags in one of the previous videos, and one of them was the XMP tag. And this allowed formatting to be done with white space. So if I save this and I launch it, there you go. It now respects that white space and I get to keep my ASCII art in there. And if I want to keep the heading tags in there, if we put the H1 tags on the outside of the XMP tags, then we can style it with those. Although now it's super huge, so you might want to switch down to maybe an H3 tag. And even that might still be too large. It's okay. Now if I were to switch these XMP tags to listing tags instead, I can actually put these H3 tags inside of there which could allow some other formatting options, because the XMP displays code as actual code, doesn't process it anymore, whereas the listing tag still does process it. So if we preview this in Safari, there we go. So you can see that the H3 tag is being applied to what's inside of here, even though it's inside of the listing tag. So using some ASCII art is a way that you can help give your users more of a visual experience, even if you're using these super ancient tags. We will get into imagery and graphics, of course, and they're not hard to do, but I think it's worth spending some time playing with how would you design an aesthetically pleasing site, even way back with just this limited technology.